Welcome to Home Remodeler Toolbox, the podcast dedicated to empowering remodelers and builders to build and grow successful businesses. Join your host, Bob Vance, founder of Home Remodeler SEO, as he brings you industry insights and strategies that will help you build a thriving business, no matter what level you're at in your business. Whether you're a thriving multi-million-dollar business or you're working on building your business from the foundation up, this podcast is your go-to source for industry secrets and actionable strategies that you can implement in your business to get to that next level. So, turn on, tune in, and let's help you build your business foundation one building block at a time.
Today's guest on the Home Remodeler Toolbox Podcast is Eric Peschke, Vice President of Marketing at Zintex Remodeling Group, a company that's grown into one of the nation's leading bath remodelers, now serving 32 markets across 10 states. With over 14 years in home improvement marketing, Eric's journey started on the ground level, working call centers, home shows, and events, giving him a deeper respect for every role that makes a business thrive. At Zintex, Eric is more than a marketer. He's a leader who believes in building people, not just pipelines. He's passionate about fostering a culture of trust, accountability, and mentorship, while also giving back through initiatives like Zintex's partnership with the Purple Heart Foundation, where they've remodeled bathrooms for veterans in need. His story is one of growth, purpose, and impact, both in business and in people's lives. In this episode of Home Remodeler Toolbox Podcast, we'll dive into Eric's journey, the systems and leadership principles behind Zintex's growth, and the lessons remodelers everywhere can take away from his experience. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Home Remodeler Toolbox. Eric, thanks for coming on today. We're glad to have you.
Thanks a lot for having me, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a wealth of knowledge and some great insights to share today. So really looking forward to diving in. I guess before we do, Eric, why don't you give us a little bit of your background and you know where you're at now, who you're with, and kind of what your role is right now.
Sure. My name is Eric Peschke. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Zintex Remodeling Group. We are a bathroom remodeling company that currently covers 32 different markets in 10 different states. And I'm basically responsible for everything related to lead generation and the conversion of those leads into run appointments and demos for our design consultants.
Okay. Now, I know you guys have grown a lot from your roots starting out in 2001 there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And now you're in, what is it, over 10 markets or so, over 30 something locations?
2 different markets in 10 different states. And Zintex is a second generation family owned. And so our current owner, Nick Zindel, his dad, Bruce, was the one that started the company back in 2001. And they've done a number of home improvement verticals or products and offerings. They've done roofing, they've done window replacement, but a lot of our growth has happened in the last, I would say, about 8 to 9 years of doing bathroom remodeling.
Okay. And so you guys strictly are doing bathroom remodeling now. Is that full tear outs, or you guys focus mainly more on the tubs and shower and conversions, things like that?
Yeah, we try to focus mainly on the tub and shower area, so what we call the wet area of the bathroom. And it's a lot easier to be able to turn jobs quicker and be able to, get in, tear out the existing bathtub or shower system and make any kind of changes, repairs, fixes, anytime any wood has to be replaced, if there's any kind of water damage, mold, mildew, things like that, we're going to take all that out and then we're going to put the new system in. And it just, we have the ability to do those kind of installations in as little as a day in a lot of cases.
Okay, yeah, I was just getting ready to ask that. Is that similar to some of those other companies that promise a 1-day bath or a 3-day bath? Is that kind of the model there?
Yeah, I mean, we always try to say in as little as 1 day. We don't want to promise 1 day. And the reason is because, when you're looking at somebody's existing bathtub or shower, you really don't know what kind of damage there might be behind the walls or underneath the shower pan or the tub. And there are a number of times where we will go in and tear something out. And it's like, okay, this is going to take a couple more hours to be able to make all these different repairs or replace, rotted wood, get rid of any kind of mold damage. So it could potentially take another half day. So, we always say we can do it in as little as one day, but we don't know for sure until we actually come out there and tear it out. Because if there's any damage, we want to make sure that we're replacing that versus just covering it up. Because at the end of the day, if you cover up something that's just really an expensive band-aid that's not going to last.
Right, especially when you're talking bathrooms and water damage, you're gonna have some real problems growing behind that wall.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I
that's
think
the number one thing that we see. I mean, customers where they have tile and grout, it is a very porous material. I mean, it has holes in it. The grout's going to start to crack, the tiles are going to start to crack, and then that's where the water's going to get in. You're going to have a lot of mold damage behind there. So the materials that we use from the various manufacturers that we work with, it's a non-porous material, meaning it doesn't have any holes in it. There isn't any water penetration that's going to go through. So that way, that your studs and your surrounds are basically protected.
right. And speaking of materials, I know that you have a long history with some of your vendors and have really formed some strong relationships with them. Can you tell us a little bit more about your history with those vendors and kind of how important and integral that is to your guys's basically your success and business model now?
Yeah, so my 14-year history in home improvement marketing, it actually started with Renewal by Andersen, and I have to say, huge credit to the Renewal by Andersen affiliate network because there is not one better place to learn how to do home improvement marketing than Andersen. So I was fortunate enough to have a lot of mentors and just great contacts throughout their affiliate network that helped me learn how to do home improvement marketing because I came into the game without any kind of home improvement marketing experience. I had some marketing experience in a previous vertical, um, but yeah, I did 5 years with Renewal by Andersen, and then I had the opportunity where I started in the bathroom space with BCI Acrylic, and they're one of our manufacturers that we use right now at Zintex. And I was at BCI for 5.5 years, and the wealth of knowledge that I was able to get from a number of their team members. I mean, Scott Rosenbach, their owner, Mark Zockel, their VP. They taught me a lot about the bathroom remodeling space, and then being able to make contacts with a lot of their different dealers across the country. You're picking up nuggets, you're learning things, um, and then trying to gain the dealer's trust. Being able to make suggestions of like, hey, I'm not just some corporate guy that's never been out on the retail side of the business. Working from Renewal by Andersen, it's like, okay, these are the next couple steps that I would recommend to you, dealer A, to do based on where you want to grow and how we can continue to generate more leads and help you out. So I was part of the team there that started their corporate lead gen program, and it was just it was a great 5.5 years. I learned a ton. And then I kind of made the decision that I wanted to get back on the retail side. Like sometimes it's tough working when you're working at a manufacturer. It's tough to move the needle as fast as you feel like you want to. And being able to get back on the retail side and find a home with Zintex, like I can shoot an email or make a phone call right now, and if something needs to change, it's going to get changed, and that's been really exciting.
Yeah, a little less red tape and bureaucracy when you're a smaller company and part of your own leadership team,
Yeah,
not that
and it
corporate
wasn't.
structure.
Yeah, and it wasn't even necessarily that at BCI. It was just it's tough to get other companies to do something that even though you believe like, hey, this is what I think you should do based on this data or based on looking at your marketing report, it doesn't mean that they're going to do it. I mean, there's times where I've had conversations and phone calls with dealers where you know we'd be on our second or third call, and I'd ask them like, okay, did you do those three things that we talked about last time? And they'd be honest and, well, no, we didn't really do them. And it's like, okay, well, why are we on this call then? Let's go back and go do those three things, because then the next three things are going to be on top of and relate to those. So it's it's definitely one of those where the experience was great. I learned a lot. I met a lot of space, and and I think it's allowed me to see both the retail side at Renewal by Andersen, the manufacturing side, and now being back on the retail side. It gives me just understanding of what's going on both sides of it, and then how you can develop those relationships between, your lead gen vendor partners as well as your manufacturer partners.
It seems like we've talked in the past about where just having that experience, having been in each department, having that expectation of, like you said, knowing what you're doing, how that product works, how it's installed, um, all the specifics about it really helps you in terms of your role and that relationship because, like you said, you're not just a marketing guy, like some corporate guy that doesn't know anything about remodeling or the product itself. Seems like that's really lends a lot of credibility and really authenticity to that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I work with an amazing team at Zintex to where the people that are at the VP level or the director level, they have started either with Zintex and worked their way up, up the chain, or they worked their way up the chain from outside, and then we brought them in and they worked their way up the chain at Zintex. I think the cool thing is that just about everybody at the VP and director level with Zintex, we have seen and done everything. Like there's very little things that we have not done ourselves that we would ask somebody on our team to do. And like personally, my example is I've basically done everything in home improvement marketing except knock doors. I've not done canvassing, but I've went out and worked home shows and events. When I started at the Renewal by Anderson affiliate in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I was the call center and the marketing person. So anytime an inbound call came in where we were setting an appointment, it got transferred over to me, and then I was doing the confirmation of those appointments. So you know, being able to go through and know, okay, these are the things that will set these people up to have success, or this is the base that we need to have in place, and being able to explain the why we do it this way, or why we have process and procedures in place that we try to stick to, it allows us to be able to grow a lot faster. And I think that's the same. Like our VP of sales, Brian Kemp, he was a in-home sales rep. He owned his own Rebath franchise at one point. Our VP of operations and production and installation, Jason Chester. I mean, he's been an installer for the last 25 years. Our VP of operations, that's responsible for all the people in the building, Kyle Etter. He was a full-time recruiter for a long time. So it's nice when it comes to the trust factor of sales and marketing are very uh, it's very few and far between where Brian and I are having to even have a conversation about something. Like the trust is there where it's like, hey, I know that if we get you quality leads, that your sales reps are going to go into the home and they're going to close everything they possibly can. And it's a very comforting environment to where it's like, hey, I'm working with a true professional that's an expert on the sales side. I don't need to question anything that he's doing. I just need to focus on what I need to do and stay in my lane and worry about making sure that we're getting really good opportunities for their reps to go into the house and be able to close.
Right. Now, you guys use a lot of canvassing. You've built call centers for the company. You've got several call centers. Is that a pretty integral part of your guys' marketing strategy?
Yeah, I mean, we want to be as diversified as possible. I mean, I have a lot of great relationships with a number of I call them lead gen partners. Some people call them, lead gen vendors or aggregators. I mean, they're truly a partner of ours, and we're really happy about the fact that we've been able to grow those relationships. We've been able to scale up as we've opened new markets and be able to, just add those additional sources into our marketing mix. But there's a difference between taking a lead and making a lead. And we sat down and talked about it at the beginning of this year, and we're like, hey, we got to get better at making leads versus just taking leads. And one of the reasons is that back when COVID first hit, and then we kind of got over the initial shutdown, um, people weren't able to spend money on vacations. They weren't able to spend money on entertainment, their sporting events. Most of the people that continued to be employed, they were putting money into their biggest asset, which in a lot of cases is their home. So home improvement became easy in 2021, 2022. Every lead was a great lead because the demand was so high that I go back and I'm like, man, I wish we would have just raised our prices a ton there, and we could have absolutely killed it. But yeah, that created that demand. Well, all of a sudden, then you see this kind of 180-degree shift where interest rates start going up, inflation starts going up, disposable income starts to become a little bit less, finance declines start to increase. You saw this kind of immediate shift where it started in the fall of 2022, and then in 2023, 2024, and even in 2025, it's been harder. And the companies that are going to survive and continue to grow, they're the ones that are taking that. We're going to figure out how to make leads versus just straight up taking leads. And I feel like we're making some progress on that. We've still got a little bit ways to go, but we've got a pretty diversified marketing mix where we're not just relying on, one or two sources, or we have too many eggs in one basket. It's something that we can I can always reach out, and if I need to get more leads, there's various ways for us to do it.
Yeah. Without giving away your secret sauce, I guess, is it really about that diversification, like you said, whether it be print or trade shows or canvassing or call centers or digital marketing or, just a whole combination? Is that really kind of what you guys is your approach to this post-COVID world where everything's kind of come back down to earth a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it and call it the three P's. It's basically people, process, procedures. The number one thing that makes Zintex special and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish and the growth numbers that we've had and our goal of being the most trusted home improvement company out there is our people. And, we've done a great job of being able to recruit. I feel like we offer just very, very good opportunities to continue to grow, very, very comp plans. We've got people on our team. We had a call center agent last year that between base pay and their bonus, they made 85 grand, and they're working 40 hours a week, and they're not taking their work home with them. But that's the opportunity. I want to give people on my team the ability to say, these are the KPIs, these are the metrics that we're trying to achieve, and if you hit it, there's no cap on how much money you potentially can make. And that's where you're going to get some real rock stars coming in there. So being able to recruit and find great talent is something that we're continuing to, I'll call it, test certain things. We're always looking where, how can we become the guinea pig? Where it's like, okay, we had an idea. Let's run it through every department head. Let's make sure that it all makes sense across the board. And then let's go out and test it and see what it does. And we're getting to that point where we're trying a couple new things. We've got kind of a major change that we're going to be doing this fall with just being able to increase the pool of candidates that we're able to bring in and interview and potentially bring on board. And I think that's really going to make a difference. But the the opportunity, the thing that a lot of home improvement companies were that the industry is not as respected as I feel like it should be. And sometimes you get a few bad apples out there ruining it for everybody. But when home improvement is looked at like, we trust home improvement companies as much as we trust our congressmen and, attorneys, like,
Right.
you're fighting an uphill battle. And we tried to put things in place with the people that we hire and Nick, our owner's leadership of it starts from the top down and making sure that like, hey, everybody's held accountable to this. Like we are representing a great brand. We have a vision of getting to a certain level and certain growth numbers, and that's what we're going to do. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see people that started in one position and now they're moving up the chain of command to where they could be somebody where I'm like, hey, I'm relying on you to get these couple things done because I trust that you're going to do them properly. You're going to get them done on time, and they're going to be done right. And it's a lot of fun to see people grow that way and be able to be a mentor.
Yeah, it's something it's a common theme every time I interview real leaders, thought leaders like you in the field. It always comes back to people and putting that trust in people and having that accountability for them. But I think one of the concepts that you guys really do well is the teaching and the mentoring and empowerment of your people. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I touched on it a little bit when I talked about sales and marketing working together. And I think one of the fun things is the fact that I always, anytime I get up and speak at a conference or I do a podcast, I always try to explain this, and everybody on my marketing team understands that the sales reps that are out in the field that are spending their money, their own gas money to get to these appointments. They work on 100% commission. They are the leading scorer on the basketball team because if they don't sell, the rest of us don't have jobs. That's just a fact. So even though everything starts with a lead from marketing to call center to sales, if the sales reps don't sell, it doesn't really matter. So understanding our position where we want to be the leading assist getter on the marketing team. So whether that's in the inside sales center with our call center agents, whether that's with our events and shows team, with our canvassing team, with our retail location teams, we want to train our people to where it's always like, how can we collect as much information from that customer and provide that to the sales reps or our design consultants that are going into that customer's home to where we're basically loading more bullets into their gun and they know exactly what they're walking into before they even knock on the door. And we take a lot of pride in that. I think there's a lot of design consultants and outside sales reps that work for us where they come in and then they're with us for a couple months and they're like, man, I've never seen higher quality leads than what we're running here at Zintex. We take a lot of pride in that. But I also I always remember that it's like it's our sales team that makes our marketing team look good. It's not the other way around. If they're closing 30% net right now with a 5,000 NSLI on a wet area, that's what drives my cost of marketing down, and that's what makes the marketing team look good. It's a partnership. It's an internal partnership to where we want to get feedback from the sales reps of how we can get better. And then we also want to find out, certain things that they might encounter where we can go pull call recordings. We can go ask some questions to find out, hey, what did we potentially miss here? Train on it and then be able to get better at it so that it doesn't happen as often.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of smaller companies kind of miss that whole training aspect of listening to those calls and learning from it because no one really likes to go back and do that. They just kind of want to take that shortcut. Hey, why didn't that close? Oh, it was they didn't have the budget or it was, just really simple answers that are only surface deep. And you really, I think you got to dig deeper into that. And that's what you guys have done really well at and kind of created your training program and always evolving it as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at home improvement and you look at who becomes an owner of a home improvement company, I mean, it's typically a sales rep or it's an installer. There are very few marketing people that become owners of home improvement companies and are running the show. And I think that's where the opportunity gets missed because I always ask this question to people or to dealers. Like when I was at BCI, I say, well, who is the first person to come in contact with a potential customer? And a lot of times the dealer might say, well, the sales rep. And I say, you're wrong. It's the canvasser, it's the events and shows person, it's the call center agent. They are the ones that can set that sales rep or design consultant up to have a great appointment where our motto is basically, I want that customer hanging up the phone or leaving our booth or closing their door and saying, I want, I'm hoping that person's coming back to my house for the appointment. And they might be a little disappointed when it's one of our design consultants that shows up versus the person they were talking to on the phone. So I think sometimes people forget about just how much of that influence there can be over the phone, sounding professional, listening to what the caller or the customer is saying to you, taking notes down, asking some follow-up questions, taking more notes down. We don't want to overqualify everything to where you're only running the laydowns, but it's also something where talking about your promotion that you're running, creating urgency about setting that appointment as close to today as possible. Like all those things, when they're done right, it's a lot of fun to see how many appointments you can issue in a day and then how many sales come in that next day when it happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned new owners in remodeling companies usually coming from the trades. We see that a lot. A lot of companies we work with, a lot of companies I just talk to, network with. Everyone kind of has come up through the trades and just decided that they wanted to go on their own. And their biggest challenge typically is that marketing and sales component. They're a great installer. They know how to hang cabinets. They know how to do all that stuff, but they forget that all of it starts with the marketing and the sales component. That without a sale you have nothing to do, like you said earlier. Is there anything that can help those smaller remodeling company owners get better at that sales and marketing component? Is there anyone that you recommend, or anyone you follow that really helps in that and mentoring that aspect of the remodeling game?
Yeah, I mean, there's always different ways to be able to continue to grow. I think the things that I've seen in my career with other companies where they hit kind of a ceiling of their growth is a lot of times they have one person in the office that is basically doing everything. Like they're the office manager. They're the ones that are setting the appointments for the owner to go out and run appointments. They're the ones that are calling to schedule installs. They're the ones that are handling service calls. They're the one, like they 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 have so many different things to do that unfortunately they might not perfect all of it. And that's where I would say, hey, you need to find somebody that they're not just a receptionist and they're not just getting paid like a receptionist. They are getting paid an hourly wage, and they're getting paid on a demo bonus, meaning they're in charge of setting appointments. They're in charge of confirming appointments. When it demos where you've presented a price because all homeowners were there and they had 60 to 90 minutes set aside for the appointment, they get paid an extra bonus. And if you find a go-getter, they're going to be the ones to be able to set more appointments for you and then be able to allow you to get into the home and be able to do more demos and obviously generate more sales. Then you'll hit a ceiling with that person. And then the next step from there is you basically have to make the investment of actually having an inside sales center or a call center. And that could be 3 or 4 people. It doesn't have to be 10 right out of the gates, but it can be 3 or 4 people where their job is having, you have a CRM, because that's another step that is kind of required. The days of doing things on pen and paper are over. But having a CRM where you can track all your lead sources, you can track your marketing spend, you can see what's turning into a net sale, so that you can spend your money wiser. But having 3 or 4 people that are able to make those outbound phone calls on all those leads to be able to set appointments, that is going to be that next step. And then you just basically expand from there. You're taking X amount of callers equals X amount of sales reps, and all you're doing is you're just bumping those buckets up, and then adding more technology to where you can go to, a better telephony system where it's a click to dial system or it's an auto dialer. And so there's different things out there that you can add, and yes, they are an investment. Yes, it's an investment to bring on 3 or 4 more people, but if you have the vision of, well, how can I go from being a $1 million company to being a $5 million company? A lot of times it is the marketing and call center aspect that is missing, and it makes sense because the owner is typically coming from sales and installation. They're not coming from marketing. I think one of the biggest fears sometimes for owners is, man, I don't know anything about call centers. How do I create a call center when I don't know what I'm doing because I've never done it before? And there's definitely people out there, as far as consultants, that I have relationships with. I mean, fortunately, our owner, Nick, he allows me to, have some calls with other dealers of ours that we know to try to help them out. I mean, as long as they're not in a competing market, or as long as they're not in a market that we might be going into at some point in the future, I'm willing to always, jump on a call with somebody and give a couple tips. And part of that's just, I had great mentors in my, days at Renewal by Anderson, my days at BCI, and I always just kind of feel like, how can I pay it forward? I had a lot of people that helped me get where I'm getting. How can I do that for somebody else, or for, somebody that's in their 20s or 30s that's, interested in getting into home improvement marketing? It's always fun teaching. My wife's a high school teacher of 20 years. My mom worked as an office manager at my elementary school. So, education something that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is one of the biggest teaching moments that stood out for you, whether you were on the teaching side or the learning side? Is there any story that really stands out to you?
Yeah, there was so back in my college days, I was actually studying TV and radio broadcasting, communication, and then I had a marketing minor. And I played golf at a Division II school in Indiana. And one of the biggest learning lessons for me was we had a guest speaker one day where we were in a general ed class, and the guest speaker challenged everybody. He says, reach out to those people who are doing the job that you would want to do, whether it's writing them a letter. I mean, this was back in 2002, 2003. Write them a letter, shoot them an email, but reach out to somebody that is doing exactly what you want to do. Well, at that point, I was like, I play golf. I love watching golf on TV. It would be awesome to be able to be a golf broadcaster at some point or be a producer. So I said, well, who's doing that? Well, the two people that came to mind were Jim Nance at CBS and Scott Van Pelt at ESPN. He was up and coming at ESPN, and he had worked and got his start at the Golf Channel. So I sent both of them a letter. I mean, typed it up, mailed it out, and I'm thinking, what are the chances that they're going to respond back to me and I'll hear from them? So I get an email. I come back from, I don't know, class one day, and I'm checking my email, and the subject line, it says, Scott Van Pelt, what up? And I'm like, and I got this like, oh my gosh, like this could really be Scott Van Pelt. I mean, he sent me 3 paragraphs, hey, thanks a lot for your letter. Really appreciate you thinking of me. I had a lot of people help me get to where I am. So let me know how I can help. Well, the next summer, the U.S. Open was coming to Olympia Fields in Illinois. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, you going to be at the Open? He's like, yeah, of course I'm going to be at the Open. I said, can we meet? Well, I brought 2 of my buddies over there, and we ended up sitting in his trailer while he was writing Sports Center that night. And we were just talking to him. And I got a picture with him, got it on videotape, stuff like that. And then he was the one that ended up reaching out to his friends at the Golf Channel, and they ended up getting me an internship to go down there in Orlando in the summertime between my junior and senior year. So, I would challenge people to where it's like, if you don't know the answer to something, or if somebody is doing something that you're like, man, I need to get better at this, reach out to them. The worst thing that they can tell you is no. Scott Van Pelt could have not wrote back to me, or he could have said like, hey man, sorry, but thanks for the letter, but I really can't help you on anything. And I think you'll find out there that there's more people that are willing to shoot an email, make a phone call, send a text to try to help somebody else than there are that just don't have the time to respond to it.
Right, right. So if I wanted to get a tea time with Scott Van Pelt, I could write you a letter. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, with him now being the head anchor on the 11 p.m. Sports Center, it might be a little bit tougher. I might have to send him the picture of he and I and say, hey, I was this guy. Don't know if you remember me because it's 23, 22 years ago. But yeah, I might be able to hook something up like that. Um,
There we go.
I did send an email. I worked under on the shows that Kelly Tillman worked on, and did shoot her an email when I was caddying at the U.S. Women's Open. The flags that I've got behind me in Long Island, and I shot her an email back saying, "Hey, I'm going to be out caddying," and she took the time where I walked up to the backside of where they were broadcasting, and said hi to me, and that was cool.
That's cool. That's a great story. Great story. Um, you going back to kind of getting those key people in place for someone looking to expand, what do you think are some of the key roles that they really need to think about early on, whether that be a production manager or someone, an operations manager, or maybe that call center and a salesperson, generally not the same person. So you're going to have to kind of do both those. Where would you guide, smaller remodelers, beginning guys that just, haven't started growing their team yet?
Yeah, I mean, this was something that I learned at BCI, and our leadership at BCI just hammered our dealers on this. It's like you have to have somebody that is responsible for lead generation. So meaning an events and shows manager, or somebody that's doing both events and shows as well as marketing, working with, lead gen partners that they've, facilitated relationships with. You got to have somebody that's generating leads. You have to have a sales manager. So meaning somebody that is responsible for the training on the sales side. You have to have somebody that is going on ride-alongs. You have to have somebody that is able to go out and sell, run appointments that are overflow, that the marketing team might generate. And then you have to have an installation manager, obviously, and you got to have a production manager, somebody to be able to go through, do production as well as service, schedule the installs, and then the installation manager is the one that's overseeing everybody on the installation side out in the field. So, those are the four pillars that we always preach. And then I think it's a matter of depending on how fast you want to grow, and also looking at, like, okay, what's the next step? Well, if you have your events and shows / marketing person, okay, now we need a call center manager to manage those 3 or 4 people. Call center manager is also going to have to make sure that they're on the phones and they can practice what they preach. So I always look at it as being able to promote from within first, because they know your process and your procedures, to be able to give somebody a shot at working their way up the chain of command. On the sales side, obviously, then, we've gotten to a point where Brian's our VP of sales. We have 5 different regional sales managers that report to him. So they're responsible for a section of those 32 markets that we're currently in. Same thing pretty much happens on the installation side. So our VP of production and installation, Jason, he's got a number of regional field managers that are responsible for that side. So yeah, being able to grow and to scale, yeah, it is tougher to find, great people out there, but we feel like we've got just kind of the winning combination with the team that we have, and I think it's only just going to continue to get better and better. Um, and I look forward to being able to talk further, through some of my speaking opportunities that I've got, of just like, you know, here are the next steps, here are the next key people you need to put in place. And you can't put the cart before the horse, or here's some mistakes that I've made with trying to do this and it backfired on me and I had to kind of back everything back out and start back over again. It's nice to be able to share certain things where you say, man, I wouldn't want somebody else making this mistake that I made.
Right. Is there any examples that you'd be willing to share, just a mistake you made that you just think, wow, we went down the fork in the road the wrong way, and now you have to come back up and go down the other fork. Anything that really stands out to you that you would, want to share, that would let people know, okay, don't do it that way.
Yeah, I think
Eric's made that mistake. Here's the right way to do it.
yeah, I think a broad one would be, um, I work a certain way. Like I'm very motivated where, I do a lot of things. I want to be able to grow at a certain pace. Like expectation levels are at a certain level where I want certain things to happen, not yesterday, but pretty close. And I'm also, I feel like I'm a self-motivator. It's like I don't need to be told by somebody like, hey, you have to do this, or hey, you need to be thinking down the line. So unfortunately, it can put me in a position where I feel or think that other people work the way I do. Some do, and some don't. And I would say, one of the mistakes that I've made is bringing people on, mentoring them, but also not necessarily having the day-to-day communications that I need to be following up on the things that they're supposed to be doing. And there's a fine balance between micromanaging and just mentoring. And I feel like as I continue to build my team on the marketing side, I feel like I'm getting better and better at that. It can be a challenge sometimes because, like, I work remotely, so I still work out of my house in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Our corporate office is based out of Louisville, Texas, outside of Dallas. Sometimes it's tough. It's tough to be Slack messaging, texting, on calls, like, hey, did this get done? I'm not there to inspect what I expect in certain cases, but I can pull up a marketing report, or I can pull up KPIs, and I can look at the numbers real quick and find out, like, is this person or department doing their job? So so I think that's the thing, is just constantly setting up KPIs, constantly looking at KPIs, giving your people the ability and the tools and the training that's necessary to do their job, and then stepping back and letting them do it and then coaching along the way. Um, and sometimes when you have the amount of people that are, in our department, it can be tough because you got, a fire over here that you have to put out in this department or with this, division, or, something else that you kind of have to address. Or like today we got done having our weekly marketing meeting, and we just kind of ran out of time because there was so much good stuff to be talking about. But there's always, here are the good things that are going on, and here's what you're doing that's great. And then here are some things that I'd like to see some improvement. And if you need my help to get there, let's set up a separate call where we can jump on Zoom and we can go through it, so that way I understand exactly what's going on in their world, and I can try to make the best recommendations possible based on, overall experience.
Right, right. It sounds like it's really that balance between uh, uh, oversight and even a better word, probably support versus micromanagement. Just trying to be there to support them, but also to make sure they are hitting those KPIs without seeming like you're all up in their stuff every day, micromanaging everything. Trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it as there's going to be opportunities to coach. You have to look at it as a coaching opportunity. I mean, anytime you bring somebody else new that's coming in, or they work for somebody else, and this is the way we did it there, or it's like, okay, well, I'm always open to hearing the feedback about how we can get better. Just because I have an opinion on a certain thing doesn't mean that it's always right. I've learned more from our team where it's like, hey, this is the issue. Excuse me, this is the issue that we're running into. We got a lot of smart people, not just in the marketing department, but in our entire company. I'm going to bring this up at the leadership meeting because I want to get everybody's input on, like, hey, maybe they had something else that happened like that in their department, and they have a solution where I can take that idea and it morphs into what we could do on the marketing side to be able to, make that change. And I think that it's also empowering people. I mean, sometimes you have to, let somebody know, like, hey, this is the third time that we are talking about this. Like, there's not going to be a fourth time. So we've had that conversation a couple times where it's been very nice, pleasant, coaching. And then every now and then I kind of have to put my foot down to where it's like, I know you're better than this. I'm pushing you, and I'm trying to make you see your full potential because I know that you can perform at a better level than what is currently being done. And I think those are the things that, when companies don't have KPIs or they don't have process and procedures and things like that, then it's very difficult to enforce those. Very difficult to get somebody to see, like, hey, this is where the ball got dropped. You're better than this. I trust you. I believe in you. Let's get back at it, and let's fix it, or let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. Um,
Right.
and some people will respond to that in the way that you want them to. And there are times where, unfortunately, you get to a point where it's like, okay, this particular individual might not make it. But I always look at my rule is if I can look them in the eye, where I can say to myself, I have done everything possible within my power to train you, to coach you, giving you the opportunities to succeed, to fail, and it's just time for, both of us to move on. And it's not something I enjoy ever having to do, but that's what I try to live by. And if it's something where I can't say that I've given them those opportunities, well, then I got to go back to the drawing board, and I got to dig my heels in, and I got to be a better leader and work with them, to be able to get them to a level that I know that they can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever read that book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink?
We are reading it, and we are currently doing it. We are on chapter 8. So our owner, Nick, he read it. He, brought it up, and we said, yeah, we're in, let's go for it. And so our entire leadership team, as well as down to the director level and the manager level, are going through it right now. And it's a great book. There's a number of things that you can learn from it. I still kind of take a step back sometimes, and I say, like, you know, uh, the 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 SEAL team members, where they're putting their lives on the line, and it's one of the reasons that we partnered with the Purple Heart Foundation, where we're committed to do a number of free bathroom remodels for deserving veterans in our markets every year. And veterans are a big thing to us, but I look and I say, okay, they're going out and doing these missions where failure is somebody dies. Like in my line of work, yeah, there's some serious mistakes and stuff like that that could happen, but more than likely, nobody's going to die in the marketing department. Uh, I still think it's that mission. It's that what we want to provide to our potential customers, what the expectations are. Our goal is to become the most trusted home improvement company out there. And it's a lofty goal because there are so many home improvement companies that are not trusted because of the way they conduct themselves. And I feel like it's a challenge. But when you find the right people, when you have the right process and procedures in place, when you have the expectations of doing right by the customer, you see that your leadership team members really come together. And from the start of that customer submitting their information or talking to somebody at an event or show, all the way through them getting their second bathroom remodeled because they became a repeat customer, we have done great handoffs of that customer in every department to where we get a ton of 5-star reviews where that customer is like, man, I never had an experience like that before. And that's where we sit back and we have to remind ourselves sometimes, hey, we're doing a lot of great things. There's always stuff that we can tweak and fix and that we're always going to try to push and become better at. But I sent out an email about a month ago with all the links to all of our Google listings to our entire staff. And I said, go through and anytime you're having a bad day, I said 2 things. Go through and read these because there's a ton of 5-star reviews. And secondly, always remember that even if you're having a rough day today, that we are installing somebody's new walk-in shower where we've taken out their bathtub, put in a new walk-in shower, and that is allowing them to stay in their home. So if you keep those things in mind, even on a rougher day, you go, you know what? That's the mission. That's the purpose. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Perspective.
Yeah. Having that in
Yeah.
perspective during the day-to-day, some days it's not day-to-day grind. There's some days that are a grind. There's other days where it's like, man, this is awesome. We're setting daily sales records. But, the overall mission of the company is to become, the most trusted home improvement company out there and also be able to just provide exceptional service and products and an experience to our customers.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That book changed my life. Just the title itself, Extreme Ownership, but it really, you talk about the mission and working within your team, but in the end, everyone has to be accountable for themselves, for their own actions, and there's no one else to blame but yourself, whatever role, whatever cog in the wheel that you are. But I like that you drive people back to your own team members to read those reviews, because like you guys have hundreds of 5-star reviews across all your locations, and like you said, it's a reminder of the great job you guys are doing, the impact that you're making on the communities that you serve, and that's a really powerful reminder.
Yeah, and it comes from our leadership. It comes from Nick, our owner. I mean, it's the amount of money that we donate back through different programs and partnerships that we have set up. What he expects of our leadership team to where when there's an opportunity to be able to help somebody out. I mean, it's just bringing those bringing those opportunities to the entire team, and then we're like, hey, can we do this? We had an example, one actually that happened this past week where fortunately, we had installed a walk-in tub for this homeowner's husband, and he passed away right after the tub was installed. And unfortunately, his wife could not use the walk-in tub. And we got together as a leadership team and we said, well, hey, what's the right thing to do here? And we decided we're going to tear out that walk-in tub because she doesn't want to use it. And we're going to put in a walk-in shower, and we're going to do that for free. And it just makes you feel good. It's just something where it's like, hey, instead of saying like, hey, I'm sorry you bought this walk-in tub and I don't really care that you can't use it, like that's what you paid for, we're not doing it. We went the extra step, which there's some companies that would do, there's a lot of companies that wouldn't do, to say, hey, we're going to send the installer back out there and they're going to put in something that you are able to use and we're not going to charge you for it. And those are just the little things, the little nuggets that we always look at and say, hey, remember when we did that? There might be a tough day coming up 2 weeks from now, And you just go, "Hey, remember when we did this and how happy she was in the videos and the pictures that we were able to get? Like, things aren't as bad as they seem. Let's move on. Tomorrow's going to be a better day."
Right, right. That's amazing. That's a great story. You also mentioned the Purple Heart Foundation. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that briefly? I know that you said you're donating a lot of different jobs to different veterans in need.
Yeah. Yeah. So we, veterans, giving back to veterans is always something that's been close to myself. Both my grandfathers were in the Army, both served. I know it is for Nick. Brian, our VP of sales, is an Air Force veteran. We've got veterans that are also installers, that are sales reps. So, finding a partnership opportunity to where we can work with somebody and they're able to provide us with candidates to where when we go out and do a site visit, they've been vetted by the Purple Heart Foundation where they know that they served. And then we go out and do a site visit and we look at, okay, what can we do regarding taking out an existing bathtub and putting in a walk-in shower with a bench seat with a bunch of grab bars. Um, there's not really any qualifications other than being a veteran, but we try to be a little bit picky when it comes to their circumstances. And I guess what I mean by that is that if I had two veterans to choose from and one of them is missing their leg below their knee and the other one isn't, I would want to choose the veteran that's missing their leg below their knee because this is helping them get into the shower and be able to bathe every day. It's helping their family members. It's helping anybody else in their household that might have to help them be able to bathe on a daily basis. So we try to be a little bit, picky, choosy when it comes to, okay, what are the qualifications other than they might have not been able to get finance for their project. We're usually looking for a physical or mental disability and a hardship to where you say, hey, we want to be able to do this. This is a priority. We're going to come in here and we're going to basically take the existing tub and wall system out. And we're going to put in a new walk-in shower. We're going to put in a grab bars. We're going to make sure that it's safe. We're going to put in a folding bench seat and put in a shower door. And we take a lot of pride in that. It's something that a lot of times our installers, they're the ones that get to enjoy it most because they're the ones that are in that veteran's home, getting to know them a little bit. And, we try to go out and get pictures and get video, of the transformation of their bathroom. And then we send those videos and pictures back to the Purple Heart Foundation. And I'm actually tomorrow, I'm getting on a call with the Purple Heart Foundation's board of directors because they wanted me to go through and just explain, what we're doing. And those are the kind of partnerships that you want to have. You want to be able to work with a great organization that knows that they're putting the veterans first, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I love it. I love hearing that story. We don't do enough for our veterans, and they deserve it. And to know that there are companies like your guys is out there with the leadership that you and Nick and your leadership team are providing and making these initiatives happen. It's that pay it forward mentality. And I think, if you really believe in karma, doing good things like that will just benefit everybody. You don't give to receive, but you know that giving in that way will always just make for a better world that just, makes it better for everyone involved. So really love hearing that. I'm involved in some similar foundation as well. But, as I mean, everything that I've heard from you today, Eric, it really, the common theme is leadership. Nick having done such a fantastic job building this company, hiring the right people, the right leaders in your company, really comes back to people and realizing that people are what make your company, and it's really heartwarming to see that because you don't hear that enough. There's a lot of I don't know, selfishness or maybe blame or I can't do that because, all these excuses. But you guys are proving the point that you can set out to do whatever you want. And your growth that you guys have experienced, your continued aspirations for growth and expansion are really a model to be really to be proud of yourselves as well as it serves as an inspiration for many others out there in the industry. So I've been very impressed just learning more about you and your leadership, as well as the Zintex Remodeling Group. It's been some really great insights you've shared so far.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we really appreciate it. I obviously appreciate the opportunity of, you reaching out to me and inviting me on the podcast. And, we're always recruiting. I mean, that's the thing that never stops with us. We're always recruiting. We cover 10 different states. Anybody listening can go to zintex.com, zintex.com. You can see the markets that we cover. And they can obviously hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as far as just I found a marketing director that I hired a couple months ago just on LinkedIn. Put a post up. Here's what I'm looking for. If you know anybody, please message me. And found a great candidate, Katie, that's our new director of marketing. So there's opportunities that come along where sometimes it's the right place and the right time. Sometimes it's just who you know. And sometimes it's, there might be somebody that's just not happy with their current job or happy with their current opportunity, or maybe they feel like they should have been promoted, they weren't, they don't have opportunities to work their way up. And like those are the people that are kind of hungry, whether it's they're money motivated, whether it's hey, I want to work my way up to be a manager and a director and a VP one day, or whatever their motivation is. Like, we'd love to talk to them because we know where we're going. We know we need good people to get there. And they're also the ones that help us develop that process procedure that is just repeatable. It's something that we can take, and apply to any new market, or make sure that we're using to get better in our existing markets. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to be able to see what we've accomplished in, the four short years that I've been with Zintex. I would have never thought that we'd be, in 32 markets and 10 different states. And I'm very blessed. I'm very, fortunate to be in this position. But would love to talk to anybody out there that's looking to make a move and take a chance on growing with Zintex.
That's great. Awesome. What's as we wind down here, what's the future hold for Zintex? Are you guys looking to expand into more states, more locations? What's that going to look like for you?
Well, it's always a running joke in the office and with the leadership team, to where our owner Nick would say, like, well, I'm not planning on expanding, for the rest of this year or something. And we just kind of all look at him like, you've said that before in previous years, and then we end up going and adding 3 more markets before that year's over. So it's definitely an inside joke, and he takes it like a champ. But yeah, I can see us, continuing to grow and adding new markets. I think, with 32 markets right now, us being able to make sure that we're taking care of our existing markets becomes more and more important the more markets that you go into. Building up our inside sales center, hiring more outside sales reps, design consultants to go in and sell is going to be a priority. And then being able to look at the fact that we cover so much territory and be working on, I'd say, like, regional campaigns, opportunities to be able to do, more lead generation with our partners in specific markets. That's kind of what my goal is I always want any lead gen company out there to think like, man, this is a company that they provide us with dispo reports. They give us a master zip code list that has the best performing zip codes based on net revenue ranked for each market. I want to provide as much as I possibly can to help our lead gen partners do their job versus not provide anything and then just sit there and complain about the leads not being good. It's like, I want to be a great partner with them. And over the course of the last 4 years, this is something where it's definitely benefited me when it comes to more people reaching out to me about, doing lead gen or doing business together.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great, man. I think you guys have a bright future ahead. Obviously, you guys are really dialed in on your processes, your people, your systems, and where you're going. So I wish you guys the best of luck going forward. It's been great talking with you. Some really great insights. Love hearing the success story. and what you guys there are doing at Zintex Remodeling Group. And we'd love to have you back on too. And maybe we can dig a little deeper into people, systems, processes, and really get into kind of the nitty gritty of how you really are building that team and expanding the way you guys are.
Yeah, more than happy to. I mean, I'm always willing to, take a phone call, find out what I don't know. I'm always willing to jump on another podcast or look at a speaking opportunity and just, be able to help people out there, grow their business. And it's just, it means a lot to me. It's nice to be able to have that reputation of somebody that's willing to help others out there. And I like to be able to continue to do it because so many people help me get where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. Paying it forward again, common theme. Eric, thanks a lot for coming on. Really appreciate you giving up your time today, sharing your insights. Wish the best of luck to you and the Zintex Remodeling Group team, and look forward to staying in touch and hearing more about your success and continued domination in the rebath and reshowering space.
Well, thanks, Bob. I really appreciate the invite to jump on the podcast and look forward to talking to you in the future.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today to the Home Remodeler Toolbox Podcast. We really appreciate you guys on the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next show. All right, everyone. Take care. See you next time.
Hey, if you liked our podcast, join the remodeling community and hit subscribe. We would love to hear from you. So be sure to share your thoughts on what you might want to hear about in future episodes. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit homeremodellerseo.com and check out our services that can help build your foundation for success. Thanks for tuning in to the Home Remodeler Toolbox Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.